Okay, welcome back to another video, guys. And today's episode, we are going to talk about filling the muscle and kind of like a mind muscle connection with your workout, but not exactly that. Okay, so what I mean is there are certain movements that you will feel your muscles engaging way better than others. Like, for instance, let's say it's the first time you're doing a concentration curl and you don't feel it in your bicep at all whatsoever. But then you go to a cable curl and then all of a sudden you feel it in your bicep like super hard, a good contraction, a good squeeze, a good flex. Everything is like perfect with that exercise. And you're like, okay, this is my new favorite exercise because I feel it the best when I do this in my arm, my bicep. And then all of a sudden, 3 weeks later, you come in and you go to do that one again. And then all of a sudden, you don't feel it no more. It's gone. That great, amazing sensation of muscle pumping, muscle fatigue, muscle burn, it's just not there like it was. And then all of a sudden, you're like, you know what? I'm going to change it up a little bit and I'm going to try a concentration curl. And now all of a sudden, concentration curl gives you that effect that the cable curl was giving you. So when people talk about mind muscle connection, I never really could get my head wrapped around that because there are certain movements that I do on certain nights that I will feel it like crazy good in the arm or whatever body part I'm training, bicep, tricep, whatever. And then all of a sudden the next workout or two, I do not feel it the same way, and if at all in that area or that muscle like I did the workout before. But then give it 2-3 weeks, then it hits again for 1 or 2 or 3 workouts, and then it goes back to not even really feeling it. And I don't know the reason for that or why, but I'm sure other people have experienced it too, and I don't know the science behind it. But like to me, I always feel like training instinctual is the best way to go about training. So if you're not feeling a certain exercise and you're not feeling the muscle contract like you want, don't be afraid to change that exercise out for something else that you can feel the muscle 100% engaging the way it's supposed to. Now, to play devil's advocate with saying that, I also believe if you're on a program and it calls for a certain movement, a certain workout, a certain exercise for a certain amount of reps and sets, I think you should stick to that. So if you're on a actual thought out training program and you have a certain amount of sets and reps and workouts, exercises to do, stick to that for the duration of that program, whether it's 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. I always try to encourage 6 to 12 weeks and then change it up, because just because you stop feeling it like you did doesn't mean it's not going to come back and start engaging the way that it was. So if you're on a program, because there's some people that need that structure because they're like, okay, I'm going to train instinctual and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to train and I'm going to train what I feel the most. But then they get in there, then they're like, okay, now what do I do? Do I start with straight bar or cable curl or dumbbell curl or hammer curl or machine curl? Or do I start with triceps? Or do I, and then they get overwhelmed and they don't know where to start or where to finish. And then they just kind of go in there and float through the gym and just haphazardly do whatever. Those are the people that need to stick to a structured program regardless. For those that can go in there and just kind of like freestyle it, then by all means, if you're not feeling it, change it up. It's different for every person. Like I'm the type of person that I like to have a structured program regardless if I'm feeling it 100% or not. I know the muscle's still working. I know it's still engaging, and I know it's still doing what it's supposed to do. For whatever reason that night, it's just not feeling as good as it normally feels, but that's temporary and it's going to pass. So that's why I don't really get caught up in the whole muscle mind connection thing. And I know this is a lot of contradictory, right? And I'm kind of going back and forth a lot here on what I'm saying. But I think it varies individual. Like I don't think there's a set way of what's better or what's worse. I just think it depends on what the individual needs, whether they need structure or they need variety or they need a switch up more frequently.
Yeah. For me, for whatever reason it is, like the bicep itself is just a muscle that I don't really like have a good connection with, I guess, because most every exercise for me, it's like when it comes to the bicep, I don't really feel it. I don't know why. I don't have that, like what you're talking about, like that connection to it to where like I'm feeling like it's getting like a pump and things like that. Like the tricep, I can work that and there's movements on that just hit it amazingly. But for whatever reason with the bicep, I can do a good majority of movements and the weight eventually starts feeling heavy, but my bicep itself like I'm not really feeling it in a way that's like I'm working that muscle really well. And like I don't know what exactly I need to do to change that.
Okay, so I used to experience this too in my biceps. I hated training arms because I never felt my arms when I trained them. I absolutely hated arm training because I never felt a pump and I never felt it where I wanted. But also I always used to try to go heavier. So I was doing reps of like 6 to 8, 6 to 9, 6 to 10, and I would never feel it in the bicep. I would just feel fatigue, strain, and then like numbness. It wasn't until I started doing sets of 20 and I picked a weight that I would burn the bicep out that I would actually start feeling it in the bicep. And then to switch it up some, like the first exercise I might go heavy, do sets of like maybe 6 to 8 reps, and then the next 2, 3 exercises I would do sets of 20. And then if I didn't feel it on the first exercise, it would get me pumped up, and then I would feel it on the others, or vice versa. I'd start off light with low volume, with high volume, doing sets of 20, and then I would go heavy towards the end of the workout. And then that, like the last exercise, I would go super heavy, and then that would give me that muscle burning sensation pump. So I've experienced that over the years too, of never feeling it in the bicep or even the tricep until I started actually doing higher reps and higher volume, and then I would have to switch it up. Like the first exercise, I might have to go heavy or I might have to go light. It just depends on how the night's going. And like I said, it varies per person and it can vary workout to workout. But again, for me, I'm one of those type of people that I like to have a structured program regardless of how it feels. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to do what my program calls for regardless of how it feels. But other people, they may not stay motivated with that type of like feeling in the gym, like it doesn't even feel good when I'm in there, it just feels like numbness, or it just hurts and I don't even get a pump from it. And those are the type of people that may need to consider changing it up a little bit and trying different things. Like I said, try going light for the first exercise, doing sets of 20 to push a lot of blood into the muscle, and then start going heavier in your next 2 or 3 exercises. Or do the opposite, go heavy on the first one and then start going lighter on the rest and just pushing as much blood in there as you can after your heavy set. So, because like I said, it took me a while to start experimenting and finding things like that. But now I don't know what happened, but the last like year or two, something just clicked, and it doesn't matter how I train. For the most part, I'm always going to hit at least one exercise that I feel it really strong in the bicep, whether I'm going higher reps, lower reps, concentrated contractions, or whatever, or high, like heavy stretches.
I mean, for me, like I said, the with the tricep, like I get good feedback on that depending on like for most of the exercises that we do and things like that. Like I have a good feedback result from doing like the different press downs or extensions and stuff like that, and the muscle I know is working the way I am wanting and intending it to. But yeah, just for whatever reason, like the bicep, like a straight bar curl, I get a good feedback from straight bar curls. But on the downside of that is straight bar curls tend to hurt my wrist more than anything. So like I'll feel it in the bicep really well, but as I'm going, like my wrist starts to have a lot of discomfort in it from how I'm having to hold the bar. So I try other exercises and it just I don't get that same like feedback from the movement kind of thing. Like every now and then concentration curls or just dumbbell curls in general might kind of work a little bit, but for whatever reason it might be, I struggle with getting like a good connection there. And it doesn't really like, because people say like, oh, well, lean forward a little bit or like stay upright and all these different things. And I've tried different positions as well, but I don't really, like I said, like the weight will eventually get heavy and I'll start to fatigue in the area, but I'm not really getting like that burning sensation, pump sensation kind of thing. It's just the arms fatiguing in general kind of thing.
Yeah, and you know, I experienced that with my legs too. Like, so whenever I used to train my quads, like my favorite thing about training quads and hamstrings is feeling it in the quad and the hamstring. But whenever I was powerlifting, I did a lot of squats. Whenever I would squat, I would feel it in my hips and honestly in my knees more than anything. And even after I was warmed up, I'd still feel it in my knees and my hips. And I would do belt squats, hack squats, leg press, but the main thing would be like deadlifts and squats because I was powerlifting. And no matter what, my knees and my hips were the first things that I'd start feeling the fatigue, and then it'd be followed by like sharp pains or like aggravated joints. And then for the next 2-3 days, it hurt when I walk and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I finally gave up on squats, because I've squatted since I've been 14 years old. I've always done squats, and I'm 36 now. These last 2 years is probably the first, actually this year, this is like the first year that I haven't done squats in a training program since May. This is the first time I've ever like just completely eliminated squats and actual like barbell, like conventional deadlifts out of my program. And it went from feeling it in my knees and my hips to feeling it in my quads and my hamstrings. So now I feel the muscle engaging and actually contracting. So I get that muscle burn like I like. So I get what you're saying about straight bar curls. Like you feel it where you want, but then there's a negative side where you feel it in your wrist, and there's other movements that you do that you don't feel like how you want to feel it. And that's the other thing too. Just like before I train my quads, I do leg extensions. I do like 4 sets of 20 on the leg extension, and I pre-exhaust the quad and put as much blood in there as I possibly can. So for your biceps, why don't you try doing like 2 sets of, let's say, cable curls, or 4 sets of cable curls with like 15 reps. And I don't mean till failure. Pick a weight that you could do 50 reps with, but instead of doing 50 reps, do like 25 reps. So do 4 sets of 25 on cable curls. Just light, no squeeze, no pause, no hold. Just move it through without stopping for 25 reps. Rest 30 seconds, do it again, 30 seconds, do it again, 30 seconds, do it again, and then start your workout after like pushing a lot of blood into the bicep, and that might get you that feeling that you're looking for whenever you're training your biceps, because that's what I do with my quads, and it works really, really good filling it in my quads. Plus it warms the knee up. For you, to warm the elbow, the shoulder, and the wrist up. So that might be something that you could look into doing, because with this, it's not about load. Like I worked out my shoulders tonight with 25-pound dumbbells, or 30, I can't remember, maybe it was 30, and then I went up to 12 and a half for my side laterals. And I was doing sets of 20 with that, and I had an amazing pump. I felt it. It was burning. It was hard, pausing at the top and everything. So it doesn't always require a lot of weight. Sometimes it just requires a different approach of reps and sets, and it's not even necessarily angles. It could just be the amount of reps that you're doing, and like pre-feed the muscle blood with a lighter movement just to kind of get it warmed up. And maybe that's something you can try, and you can feel it a lot better in the area without causing discomfort in the joints, or not even feeling it in the bicep. And this applies for everything across the board, applies for everything. And again, like I know we contradicted ourselves a lot in this talking about this, but that's because like I hate saying like this is how you do it and this is the only way to do it. Like I think that there's too much dogma out there, and there's too much of like, well, you can't do it like that. Well, why not? Because so-and-so said, or so-and-so said, or because the science says. I think there's too much of that. I think this is all science-based, but people want to call it bro science. But reality of the fact is, every time you go into the gym, you are doing a science experiment on yourself. You're trying a thesis of how to get bigger and stronger, or how to get leaner. And every time you apply yourself in the gym, you're applying a thesis by experimenting with an exercise or a workout or a training program to see what the results yield you over time. And that's a science experience. So you can call it bro science or call it actual science. But at the end of the day, you have to be willing to kind of like experience scientifically with your own body and try techniques and methods that other people may disagree with, or say don't work or won't work, or they don't work because of this or because it didn't work for me. But, like I said, it's one of those things that you're going to have to apply yourself in a way that you're going to feel is going to benefit you the most. In the worst case scenario, if you apply yourself and it doesn't benefit you after 3 months or 6 months, then change it out to something different, or change it up some, or completely go the polar opposite of what you're doing. And if that doesn't work, then it's somewhere in the middle. So if you go, sets of 20 and that doesn't work, then you go sets of 5 to 6 and that doesn't work. Okay, then maybe somewhere between 10 to 14 reps. So, and you're not going to know where your sweet spot is until you experiment with your own body and find it. So that's why there's a lot of contradictory in the science workout fitness thing. In 6 months, this study says this, and 6 months, this study says that, and in 6 months, this study is saying this, which is the opposite of those, which is the opposite of this. So that's why it's hard for me to give like workout how-to tutorials. This is the only way. Because like I said, I don't feel like there is only one way. I feel like the way that you're going to get the best results is the workout that you're willing to apply yourself the absolute hardest, where you feel your muscles engaging and you push yourself to the point of uncomfortable to be able to get those results,
Yeah. And it's definitely something that I want to, I need to try and apply and see how it's going to go with the, trying the bicep like a burnout kind of before going into it to see if that does affect it and give it a better feel overall in general. So definitely something I can look into.
Yeah. And for people that aren't experiencing good pumps, that are on a strict diet and like, oh, well, I'm flat and I'm not getting good pump because I'm not eating as many carbs, salt and water. If you're not experiencing good pumps when you're working out because you're on a deficit of a workout, increase your salt and increase your water before you work out. The last meal before your workout, you don't have to do it immediately before your workout, but if you increase your sodium intake and your water intake before you work out, about 30 minutes to 2 hours, 2 hours to 30 minutes before you work out, increase your sodium and your water, that's going to cause your muscles to pump up way better. Like if you're like, oh, I'm flat or I'm not getting pumps and I'm not looking that good in the gym and I'm fatigued and exhausted and when I'm in there, I have just no drive. Increase your sodium because when you go on a diet, you typically decrease your sodium by default by eating less food and being on a restricted diet. So increase your sodium some and not a lot. I'm not saying go ham and just load your food up with sodium and salt, but increase it some. And that dictates how much sodium you're naturally getting throughout the day. Increase it some. Try 200 milligrams. And if that doesn't work, try 300 and then 400. And increase your water as you do that. Then that might actually start giving you better pumps and giving you more energy while you work out. And you'll feel a lot better while you're in the gym, actually. Because if you're training hard, you're going to be sweating and you're going to sweat that out anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that's going to be it for me on this one. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, sounds good.
All right. Well, hey, guys, we appreciate you watching. If you made it this far in the video, if you leave a like, we'd appreciate it. If you've been regularly watching our content and you're not subscribed to the channel yet, we'd appreciate it if you would subscribe. And if you don't want to like the video and you don't want to subscribe to the channel, it's as simple as don't do it, right? So, but anyways, thanks for watching. And until next time.
Yep. Catch you later.